Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, let me ask you a simple question today. How often do you pause and focus on your own life? I'm talking about a deep introspective focus where you stop seeking external validation, where you stop listening to the constant noise and instead you start tuning into your own heart and soul. Imagine for a moment what would happen if you truly stopped worrying about what everyone else thinks of you. Picture yourself no longer seeking approval from your friends, family, or social media followers. What would it feel like to set aside all the outside opinions, all the noise, and focus entirely on your own thoughts, your own dreams, and your own potential? This is the power of self-focus, and it is one of the most transformational tools you have at your disposal. See, most of us have been conditioned to look outward for validation. From the time we are children, we are taught to seek approval from others. Our parents, teachers, bosses, colleagues, even strangers. We start to believe that our worth is tied to how others see us or what they think of our choices. But here's the reality. Your true worth and potential don't depend on anyone else's opinion but your own. When you focus inwardly, you tap into something far deeper and more authentic than what others may think or say about you. When you focus on yourself, you begin to realize that your life is yours to direct. You are the author of your own story, and no one else gets to decide the plot, the characters, or the ending. This realization gives you a sense of power, control, and autonomy that is unmatched by external validation. It's in this self-focus that you begin to uncover your strengths, your purpose, and your passion. You stop living in reaction to what's happening around you, and instead, you start creating your own path. When you focus on your goals, on your personal growth, and on your mission, you shift from a mindset of survival to a mindset of thriving. The beauty of focusing on yourself is that it allows you to gain clarity on your own dreams without being clouded by the expectations or distractions of others. You begin to ask yourself the real questions like, what do I truly want out of life? What is my purpose here? What is the legacy I want to leave behind? When you allow yourself the time and space to focus solely on these questions without seeking outside input, you begin to move toward your purpose with laser precision. And let me tell you, when you truly focus on yourself, something magical happens. You begin to realize that you are capable of far more than you've ever imagined. You have abilities, talents, and gifts that when nurtured can propel you forward in ways that no external influence could ever dictate. You become aware of your own strength and resilience, and you start to believe in your own capacity for success. The world may be filled with distractions and noise, but when you focus inwardly, you tune into your highest potential and align your actions with the person you're meant to become. Self-focus is not about selfishness or ignoring the needs of others, far from it. It's about realizing that to be your best for others, you first need to be your best for yourself. When you take the time to focus on your growth, your mental health, and your dreams, you become a better version of yourself for those around you. Your focus shifts from trying to please others to trying to be the best you can be, because you understand that only through self-growth can you truly serve the world in the most powerful way. When I first started this journey, I was just like everyone else, concerned with how I appeared to others, seeking approval from those around me. But as I began to focus on myself and my own growth, everything changed. I realized that the more I aligned myself with my own purpose, the more the external world began to respond to me in ways I had never imagined. The distractions started to fade and clarity emerged. I saw opportunities that had been there all along, but I hadn't been able to recognize because I was so caught up in the noise. The world didn't change, I did. I stopped looking for validation, and instead, I started to create my own path. When you focus on yourself, your self-confidence grows. The people around you notice the change in you. They see you becoming more grounded, more decisive, more purpose-driven. You stop seeking external validation because you no longer need it. Your self-worth is no longer contingent on someone else's opinion, and that is a powerful place to be. This is the kind of freedom that comes from truly focusing on yourself and your own growth. I challenge you today to think about where you've been placing your focus. Have you been giving too much of your energy to seeking approval, to reacting to other people's expectations, to measuring your worth by the opinions of others? If so, it's time to take your power back. Start focusing on yourself, your dreams, your growth, your vision, and watch how your life transforms. When you stop living for everyone else and start living for you, you step into the full potential of who you were always meant to be. Now let's talk about silence, a concept that many people misunderstand. We live in a world that is constantly buzzing with noise, social media notifications, news updates, chatter from friends, co-workers, family, the endless flow of opinions and distractions. But I want to share something profound with you today. Silence is one of the most powerful tools for personal transformation. When I first encountered the idea of silence as a tool for growth, I was skeptical. Like many people, I had grown accustomed to the constant flow of information. It felt unnatural to step away from the noise. But over time, I began to see the truth in the idea that silence isn't the absence of sound, it's the presence of clarity. When you remove the distractions and stop allowing the opinions of others to dictate your every move, something incredible happens. You start to hear your own voice. Not the voice of doubt, not the voice of fear, but the voice of truth. The truth about who you are, what you want, and what you're capable of achieving. I remember a time in my life when I was overwhelmed. There was so much going on around me, so many people with advice, suggestions, and even criticisms. I found myself pulled in 1,000 different directions, unable to make clear decisions or see my own path. Everything seemed cluttered and foggy. It wasn't until I decided to embrace silence, to step away from the noise, that I began to find clarity. I remember deliberately taking a break from social media, turning off my phone notifications, and spending a few days alone with my thoughts, writing in my journal, and reflecting on where I wanted to go in life. In those moments of silence, I heard my own thoughts more clearly. I began to understand what truly mattered to me, what I needed to work on, and what I could let go of. Silence allowed me to hear my own heart, to connect deeply with my own desires, and to uncover the answers that had been buried under all the distractions. It was in that stillness that I found the strength to make bold decisions, to step away from the things that weren't serving me, and to finally move forward with confidence. Here's the reality. We often surround ourselves with noise because we are afraid of what we might hear in silence. The world has conditioned us to believe that we need to be constantly doing something, constantly moving, constantly achieving. But I want to remind you of something powerful. You don't need to seek external validation. You don't need the opinions of others to guide you. In fact, it's when you step into the quiet and shut out the world that you finally give yourself permission to hear your true voice. The power of silence is that it helps you filter out the irrelevant noise that clouds your judgment. It brings you back to center. When you allow yourself to step away from the constant stream of distractions, you open up the space to connect with your deeper thoughts, your true desires, and the guidance that lies within you. You are no longer reacting to the world around you. You are responding to the clarity that silence provides. Silence gives you the chance to reset. It's in those moments of stillness that you can listen to your inner voice, reflect on your journey, and consider where you want to go next. How often have you found yourself overwhelmed with noise, constantly reacting, never truly taking the time to think about what you really want or where you want to be? I'm challenging you today to embrace the power of silence, to stop seeking approval from others, to stop listening to every outside voice, and instead turn inward. When you embrace silence, you embrace the clarity that allows you to make decisions based on your inner truth, not based on external pressures. The more time you spend in silence, the more you'll begin to hear the guidance that's been there all along, waiting for you to listen. It's in that silence that you rediscover your purpose, your path, and your potential. You become more grounded and centered, and decisions that once seemed difficult become easier to make. In the quiet moments, you'll realize that everything you need is already within you. Silence is the space where you can connect with your highest self, align with your true desires, and begin to take inspired action toward your goals. If you've been living a life surrounded by noise, constantly seeking input from others, it's time to embrace the power of silence. Take a moment today, take an hour or even an entire day, step away from the noise, the distractions, the opinions, and just sit with yourself. Let your thoughts flow, write them down, reflect. You'll be amazed at the clarity that begins to emerge. The answers are within you, but they can only be heard in the stillness of your mind. Embrace silence and watch how your life transforms. Now, let's address the noise that fills our lives every single day, the noise of the world. It's everywhere, constantly bombarding us from all directions, from the media, from friends, from family, and from social platforms. It's the voices that are telling you who you should be, what you should do, and how you should think. Every time you pick up your phone or turn on the TV, you're being flooded with opinions that may or may not serve your best interests. The noise is so loud that sometimes it's hard to hear anything else, especially your own thoughts and your own desires. But here's something critical you must understand. The noise is a distraction. It pulls you away from what matters most. It takes your focus off your own growth, your dreams, and your true purpose. If you allow the world to dictate your every move, you'll find yourself chasing after things that aren't even aligned with who you are. You'll be living a life that isn't truly your own, but one that is shaped by the influence of others, the media, or societal expectation. And that's not the way to create a meaningful life. The truth is, the world will try to tell you who to be, but you have to make the decision to listen to yourself. The moment I recognized how loud the world's noise had become in my own life, something clicked. I realized I was giving away my power by allowing every external influence to dictate my choices. I was so focused on keeping up with what others thought was success that I forgot to define success for myself. It wasn't until I started stepping back, turning off the noise, and tuning in to my own inner voice that I began to discover what truly mattered to me. Think about this for a second. How much of your life's energy are you spending on trying to measure up to someone else's standards? How often do you find yourself scrolling through social media, comparing your life to the carefully curated highlights of others? We've all done it. We see the success, the fancy vacations, the perfect relationships, and before we know it, we feel inadequate or left behind. But here's the truth you need to grasp. Comparison is a thief of joy. The more you compare yourself to others, the more you will lose sight of who you are and what you're capable of. It's not your journey, it's theirs. And your journey is unique. Your path is different. When you focus on the noise, you miss the unique opportunities that only come from within. The world will tell you to follow the crowd, to take the safest route, or to fit into a predefined mold. But that's not where your true potential lies. Your true potential lies in being authentic to yourself. You must break free from the constant pressure of external expectations and create space for your own voice to emerge. The moment you begin to tune out the noise and tune into your inner wisdom, things begin to change. Let me tell you, I've seen this happen not just in my own life, but in the lives of countless others. People who have chosen to block out the external noise and focus on what they truly want and need in their lives. People who have had the courage to stop seeking validation and instead started to believe in themselves. These are the people who make the most progress because they are acting from a place of alignment, not from a place of trying to keep up or please others. But here's the thing, the noise won't stop just because you decide to tune it out. It's a constant force that will always be there, trying to pull you back in. The key to handling the noise is not letting it drown out your own voice. You have to be strong enough to block it out when needed, to stand firm in your own convictions, and to prioritize your own truth over the opinions of others. When you allow the world's noise to dictate your direction, you lose the power to make decisions that are aligned with your soul's purpose. But when you take control, when you choose to focus on yourself, you begin to rise above the noise. Think about the last time you made a decision because someone else told you it was the right thing to do, even though you weren't sure it was right for you. How did that feel? Chances are it didn't feel great. You may have felt conflicted or uncertain, and that's because the decision wasn't coming from your inner truth. The key is to stop letting the world's distractions and judgments control your path. Instead, focus on tuning into your own inner guidance. The most successful people in the world are not the ones who follow the crowd. They are the ones who have the courage to listen to their inner voice and trust themselves even when the noise is loud. You see, the world will keep pushing you in all kinds of directions. It will keep trying to tell you who to be and what to do. But you have to realize that the most important opinion is your own. The most important validation is the validation you give yourself. The most important path is the one you carve out based on your own heart and vision. I want you to think about how much energy you're putting into the noise. How much time are you spending on external things that don't really serve you? Are you constantly checking in with others, seeking their approval, and allowing their noise to drown out your own voice? Or are you learning to tune into the wisdom when you choose to listen to yourself, when you decide that your own voice is the one you trust, you gain the freedom to step forward into a life that is completely your own, a life that is built on your values, your beliefs, and your dreams, not someone else's. The noise of the world will always be there, but you have the power to decide how much influence it will have over your life. And once you realize that, you can choose to rise above it, focus on your own path, and take ownership of the life you're meant to live. The first step is simple. Tune out the noise and start listening to your own voice. When you do, everything changes. One of the most profound realizations I've had in my own life is this: the most significant growth happens when you stop talking and start listening. You see, in today's world, everyone has something to say, and we all have opinions that we're eager to share. It's easy to become caught up in the desire to speak, to express ourselves, and to be heard. But I've come to understand that the real power comes when we quiet ourselves and listen, not just to others, but to our own inner voice. It's no secret that we live in a world that values extroversion. We are encouraged to speak up, make our voices heard, and share our opinions. And while there's value in communication, we must also recognize the power of silence. The power of taking a step back and allowing ourselves the space to listen deeply to the world around us and to our own thoughts. This isn't a call for passivity, but rather for a deeper, more intentional approach to living. You can't hear the whispers of your soul if you're constantly filling your life with noise and chat. I remember a time in my life when I was constantly talking. I had a lot to say, and I thought that if I could just get my thoughts and ideas out into the world, things would begin to align. But the more I spoke, the less I actually heard. I was so focused on making my voice known that I was missing the very thing I needed most: clarity. My voice wasn't the one I needed to listen to. It was my inner voice, the one that had been drowned out by my own need to be heard. It wasn't until I started to step into silence that I truly began to understand the power of listening. When I quieted my mind and allowed myself to listen to the stillness of my thoughts, to the rhythm of my breath, and to the world around me, I began to gain insight into the direction my life needed to take. It's in the silence that we can hear what's been there all along: the answers to the questions we've been asking, the guidance we've been seeking, and the strength we didn't know we had. As I embraced more silence, I started to notice how much more intentional my decisions became. Instead of rushing to react to external circumstances or the opinions of others, I began to take the time to pause and reflect. It's in those moments of stillness that I could hear the deepest desires of my heart, free from the distractions and pressures of the outside world. In fact, I often say that the most important conversations I've had were the ones I've had with myself, in the quiet moments when I allowed myself the space to think and reflect. Let me tell you, it's incredibly powerful when you allow yourself the opportunity to reflect without the need to fill every moment with sound. The noise of the world will always be there, but when you choose to silence it, you can hear things that would otherwise pass you by. In the quiet, you find clarity. You find the courage to make decisions that are aligned with your true self, not based on the opinions of others. When you stop talking so much, you give yourself the freedom to hear the wisdom that lies within. What I'm encouraging you to do today is simple yet profound. Listen more and talk less. Spend less time worrying about what others are saying and more time reflecting on what you need to hear from yourself. Silence is not just the absence of sound, it is the presence of awareness, of understanding, and of connection to your deepest self. In that space, you find the ability to truly know yourself, to make decisions that align with your heart, and to gain the clarity necessary to move forward with confidence. The world will always be noisy. There will always be pressure to keep up, to react, and to stay busy, but it is in the quiet, in those moments of pause, that you will find the answers you've been looking for. When you stop talking and start listening, you tap into the wisdom that resides within you. It's in silence that your true strength emerges, your true purpose becomes clear, and your path forward becomes illuminated. You don't have to fill every moment with chatter. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is embrace the silence and listen to what it has to teach you. So take a moment, take a deep breath, step away from the noise and listen. Listen to your heart, listen to your dreams, listen to the things that matter most to you. The answers are not out there, they're within you. And when you stop talking and start listening, you will discover a strength and clarity you never knew you had.